Hey guys, Coach Dan here. Lower body workout number 2 for the week. What a miserable one it was yesterday. So I think sometimes that's just an important thing to keep in mind. It's not all smooth sailing, but if you just keep going back, eventually it will feel good again sometimes. Most of the time. It always does. So yeah, yesterday was a bit of a shitty one. Felt like the whole workout was like, this sucks. Got through it though, so that's, I was proud of that. And now, feel better today. So sometimes you're at the bottom of the wave and sometimes you're at the top of the wave, but either way we have to get in and get it done if we have particular goals in mind. So you don't always have to feel 100%. You don't always have to feel 100% to go to work, but you go for a reason. So if you have that strong reason, that strong motivator or reason why, it makes your life a whole lot simpler. You just do it because you know it's important to you, right? All right, lower body. We're going stiff-legged deadlifts to start off with. It's been a couple of weeks because I was out last week, so we will see how we are feeling there. Along with, got to fuck around with some step-up variation, I think. Yeah, this is something I don't have planned necessarily, so let's go and see what we're going to do. Warming up for the stiff-legged deadlift. So for my deadlift, I'm using it mainly to target my hamstrings. Glutes will be along to the right, and people can often use the deadlift as a back exercise as well. For me, I'm going hamstrings, so my technique is such that I want to lean this mostly towards my hamstring. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I'll come in for me, feet, shoulder width, it's more like hip width each apart. I've got straps, I've got a belt because I've got all the gear but no idea. So where my foot or leg position is, hips, I grab and set up my hands directly outside of that. Strap in, so grip's a non-issue. And again, for the stiff-legged deadlift, we're going hips high. So in this kind of position there, hips high, big hamstring stretch, not a lot of knee bend. So the more knee bend you get in, potentially the more quads you can get in there, and also potentially you'll even use your glutes more or feel your glutes more because of the tension taken away or the stretch taken away from your hamstrings. So hips high, soft knee. Before starting pretty much any kind of big deadlift or compound movement, you'll take a big breath and brace yourself nice and tight to get ready for that lift. And that's how she's done. So still controlling the way down. It's hard with a heavy weight, but again, we want to make sure we're still doing work. We've got the hamstrings working on the way up and the way down. So if I just drop it, I'll probably be able to perform more reps or lift more weight, but it's not just about that. It's about applying that tension. So come up pretty aggressively as long as you're in a good position. Control the way down, feel the tension where it's got to go. All right. Let's go to set 1. Alright, stiff-legged deadlift 3 sets. Aiming for 5 to 10 reps there usually. So today, first time I've gotten onto the 185 kg bar since I hit 180 for 10, which was my initial goal, so that's pretty cool. Maybe I'll see. You want to see if I can take it up toward 200, that would be pretty sweet. So, yeah, first 2 sets, we're at 185, and then because the reps were dropping down the toilet, I'll roll back down to 170 for the last set, so I could stay in that rep range. Oh, not bad, happy days. So I hadn't done that in two weeks, so not too bad. Now it's time to build it back up. All right, let's go figure out this step-up variation. Okay, so this is a step-up variation that I am playing around with, so not gonna lie, stolen straight off of Instagram, and normally most of that shit is shit, but there's some merit for this one. So I've been doing some step-ups with the Smith machine, but often the height can cap out on Smith machines if your step is high enough, so that doesn't always work, as well as just having a bar on your back sometimes is just extra fatiguing. So this is good. Some funky little variations I'm going to try with this one, which is like reaching across my body. So basically where we're at, we've got a bench, we've got it set in front of a cable machine, and what we'll do is, depending on what leg you're using, so if I'm going right leg, I'm going to shuffle off to the left, I'm going to strap and hold on with the left hand. So me reaching in this way means I get that little bit of extra stretch towards my glute, because my knee's coming towards my midline, and that's part of the glute's job is abduction, or taking the leg away. So we're doing the opposite of that job. Here I've got something to hold on to, and then we're driving up from there, reaching the back foot way back, allowing for full hip flexion, which again is about getting full stretch on that glute. So on the other side, left foot now set off to the right, holding on for a bit of stability and balance. So that feels pretty good. Back feels good during that. I've got to build it up to a weight that I'm going to do for maybe 8 to 12 reps per leg. We're trying to get the glute to work as much as possible here, so that's the goal. All right, let's go. That's very good actually, so that's going to be my next step up variation. I think this may go on the other lower body day after the hack squats, because earlier in the week did rear full elevated split squats after the hack squats and they did not go so well, so I think I'll switch these rear foots to this day, step ups to that day. Whew. Good, nice little twist, potential bigger stretch through the glute. Feels good. One downside that I don't think it's a major issue, but it's the stability of this bench. So the soft pad means potentially I'm wobbling a little bit as I'm doing it, and maybe wasting some juice or not able to produce as much force because of that. So see if I can find a solution to that. A harder bench, maybe, or something else. Anyway, let's go leg press. Okay, next up, leg press. So leg press, we are trying to bias as much towards the quads as possible. So if we think about our exercise selection to date, or up until now in this session, should I say, deadlifts. We were making them hamstrings, glutes are big workers, quads very little. The step up, we want to make the glutes a big worker, but quads have to come along for the ride. Here we're going heavy on the quads, and then glutes have to pitch in a little bit as well. So my technique will be biased more towards the quads, and I'll show you how we do that. So you're thinking, I've got these weightlifting shoes. You see the Olympic lifters use these. This allows for a heel elevation, more knee flexion, more stretch on the quad, potentially more growth for the quad. That's number one. Number two, I'll set the feet pretty low on the platform. Again, if we're thinking about where my knees will end up at the bottom and where the weight is coming down against my system, we want the knees to be away from where the force is coming down. We call that a moment arm, and the longer that is, the harder it becomes to extend this joint, and the more the muscle that extends this joint has to work, i.e. quads, right? So firstly, lifting shoes. Secondly, feet as low as possible whilst keeping the heels on the platform. And then there was a third. Yeah, third is, and it's associated with number one, is a lot of knee flexion, right? So I put my toes slightly out. Pretty narrow stance has always felt pretty good for me. Up, handles out, control the way down, feel tension in quads, as much knee flexion as possible, and then drive up. Now, if I were to take my feet high on the platform, before I run to the end range, my knees will get to my chest. What that means is that's more hip flexion. So like step up, that can potentially be more glutey if we want it to be, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I'm going heavy on the quads. So control, lots of knee flexion. There's a stack of hip flexion there as well. But again, the other kicker is my feet being low on the platform means that the force is coming down and attaching to my system far away from the joint that's working. So that's how we roll with the leg press. Now, I haven't done it in 2 weeks. Last time out, I was doing 4 sets from lower body session or hack squats at the beginning of this week. I might start with 3 today and then maybe add the 4th in next week. All right, let's build up to the weight. All right, that's leg press done. That was nice. Actually, all those sets felt really good. So some good things to think about while leg pressing, especially if it's for muscle growth. But in almost all situations, it's probably for muscle growth, even if it's to, train for squats or powerlifting or whatever. But the idea is we want to put the tension right on the quaddies. So as I'm bringing this down, I'm thinking about bringing it down with the quads. They're working. As I'm driving up, I'm thinking about driving with the quads as well. It's not just about doing the action, it's about targeting what we want for bodybuilding. Whew. So that's good. Strength was near where it was a couple of weeks back prior to me getting sick, so no dramas, and it felt nice. Happy days. Okay, let's finish off this bad boy. Hey there. All right, next up, lying hamstring curl. Now this is a very good lying hamstring curl, big baller lying hamstring curl as I call it. A lot of the hamstring curls these days, they'll go sort of like this, and then the pad that goes from the hip to kind of the top of the leg-ish angles down slightly. This one angles down significantly. What that means is it'll get us into a better pre-stretched hamstring position, almost akin to that of the seated hamstring curl. Not almost, but going in that direction at least. So I find this really good, this one. They got a couple other ones downstairs, but this is the one for me. I want to set this up such that when I'm lying in position, it's on the back of my ankle, not too up towards my knee, and definitely not falling off my heel, because then I won't be able to produce too much force. Then I'll set myself up, lock my hands in. There are these elbow pads here. I'll lock onto those, and then I'll drive my heels towards my butt using my hamstring, and rinse and repeat. So controlling the down phase, milk out, feel that stretch. As I pull up, I'm thinking about pulling my lower leg up towards this using my hamstring. That's how the hamstrings roll. So lying hamstring on this day, I've got a seated one on the other day. So even though that potentially the seated one, you know, theoretically and with a little bit of direct research might be better, this gives us some variation, and it's still a good exercise. All right, let's get our weight. Let's go. Okay, lying hamstring curl. Pretty much every gym has one. Pin loaded, plate loaded, good variation. Isolating the hamstrings pretty much as close as possible. Only real tips I have here is get yourself stable, lock into place, and as you do the rep, control the way down, keeping the tension on the hamstrings as you go down, and then same, pull your heel towards your butt or your lower leg towards your butt using your hamstrings. Good? Yep. If you get a choice of one where this pad tips down further, choose that. But you know, all in all, either way it's good. Just execute correctly, put good effort in, you'll be golden. All right, let's finish off with some calves and some abs. Okay, our calf raise variation today, leg press calf raise. No loading on the body, or should I say on the spine with any of the machines or the Smith machine or any of that kind of stuff, so I like that. Some of the tips here is, again, if you have the choice, choosing a leg press where there's nothing underneath here, so I can go through a decent range of motion. So I'll pop up, almost like a small leg press, stretch underneath, raise up, stretch, raise. So importantly here, having at least the ball of your big toe, like about half of your foot on, is going to be important, because if you find that you get down to this kind of tippy toe action, you won't be able to produce a lot of force whilst doing it, and therefore not, allowing yourself to put a lot of tension on your calves. So that's really all there is to that one. It's pretty straightforward. I am considering supersetting this with the abdominal exercise for today, but it's on the other side of the gym, so not sure if this is more efficient or less efficient, but let's give it a go. Okay, so this is the abdominal machine I'm going to do today. So I do abs on both of my lower body days, just from the perspective of, you probably don't want your abs sore going into a lower body day, because if I have to squat or deadlift or anything and this is feeling a bit weak, we might get that sort of crumbling or letting down because of that area. So if we do it on this day, it just takes that out of the equation, because by the time these heal, legs hopefully have healed, and then I'll be training lower body again, so they come together. I think that's somewhat of a common strategy, but it's not the be all and end all. You could do it on another workout, you could do it later in the day, whatever suits you. So this, I think I have only done, I think I played around with it once and done it once at a decent intensity. It felt pretty good. Yeah, so for this, you'll see a fair few of these kinds of machines. I don't always love them, but this one works pretty well. So you can see already, I've got this big stretched position, and essentially I'm just doing the job of the abs, which is driving my sternum in this scenario down towards my pelvis. So I'm not throwing my head forward, not doing any of that shit. I'm driving my pelvis, the bottom of my sternum down towards the top of my pelvis. Big stretch, open those abs out, and then back. Open them up, and then back. It's good. Yeah, so last time I did this, it felt pretty good. A seatbelt, I always love a seatbelt. Makes me feel like a little kid on a bus again. So, I think that's gonna be good. There is some adjustment of the seat position, but I might be pretty bang on there. So I'll start there, and then if need be, I'll just trial out a couple different seat positions. All right, superset. So this, that, back to back, they don't affect each other too much because they work in different muscles. Systemically, they're not loading your body too much, so I'm not out of breath after one. Yeah, I save a bit of time here. I might do 3 sets today instead of 5, which I was doing a couple weeks back. But as I have been crying all week long, I was sick last week, so drop it down to 3 and then maybe increase next week. All right, so that's a wrap on a good lower body workout, guys. So for all my bitching and moaning and crying yesterday about how miserable it was and how not fun it was, again, I think that just reiterates the fact that sometimes you just have to sort of come back in and get it done and sort of not dwell on that kind of stuff. So sometimes it's fun, sometimes you're motivated, sometimes all things feel really good, and sometimes you just have to do it because you know you have a goal in mind that you're chasing after. So when you keep that in mind, it's like you don't have to feel motivated to do something all the time. You just have to have a reason to do it. So you should have a motivator, but this kind of constant feeling of, I need to feel motivated to do it, it's just rubbish, to be honest. Like, if you think about going to work each day, not everyone wants to get up and go to work each day, but you do it because you have a reason to do it, a quite important reason, that if you were to miss it or miss a significant amount of it, it would lead to some pretty bad outcomes pretty quickly. Maybe people don't see the gym or training that way, is like maybe it's a more slower burning kind of thing, but same thing considered. You don't always have to feel like doing it. Sometimes you just have to get there and do it. And then it usually, it doesn't make sense. It usually turns around. So in the sense that yesterday felt like shit, today felt great. So I like to give the metaphor of it being like a wave. Sometimes you're at the bottom, you just got to grind it out to wait to get back to the top of the wave. So just keep that in mind. You don't always feel like doing it. Just get in there, do it. Sometimes, the next day you might feel like it. A couple of days later you might feel like it. But we know we've got that goal in mind, right? All right. That's that. As always, guys, do the liking, subscribing, sharing, all that kind of stuff would be much appreciated. And remember, it's about progress over perfection. Coach Dan, signing off.